Hi, I'm Candice Batista. Thanks for joining us this week on Global Footprints. Probably the most important component to reducing our waste is to recycle our thinking, and changing our habits is key. When it comes to the stuff we buy, we can do better. I recently caught up with Annie Leonard to talk about her new book, The Story of Stuff. It's filled with information on how we pull materials from the earth, process it, distribute it, and waste it. After taking a trip to a local landfill during her college years, Leonard was shocked to see how much stuff people were consuming and throwing out, and could not believe that half of that waste was paper. So she asked herself,
this is what my beloved forests are being chopped down for? This is what we're trashing the planet for? So I just was so curious, what kind of a system would create so much waste, and why is no one talking about it? So I ended up spending the next 20 years traveling around the world, visiting the factories where our stuff is made and the dumps where our stuff is dumped, to try to put the pieces together. And I summarized it all in The Story of Stuff.
Bottom line, we are in a stuff crisis, consuming it, acquiring it, moving it, storing it, whining about it, worried about it, loving it, and hating it. Whichever way you look at it, it's become a part of us. Our cupboards and houses are filled with it too. Trouble is, all this stuff is turning our planet into a garbage dump. So the question remains, why?
I think that we are increasingly disconnected from nature, and I do think that's a problem. But I think there's a bigger piece, which is that most of the problems associated with our stuff, where it's made, how the minerals are extracted, the forests are felled, the factories where the stuff is produced, and then how it's dumped, where it's disposed, most of that, the extraction, production, and disposal, happens out of our sight of vision. You know, here in North America, we live pretty comfortably. You know, we can go years without ever seeing a factory or a dump. We can go our whole life without ever seeing these things. So it's easy to ignore it. And on the news, we're certainly not seeing a lot of authentic reporting, except on shows like yours.
The Story of Stuff has one goal: to get people to think about our whole materialistic economy, where our stuff comes from and where it goes, as well as how it's extracted, produced, distributed, consumed, and disposed of. I like to think of it as mindful consumption.
But I am not against stuff. I'm actually pro-stuff, and this surprises a lot of people. They think I'm anti-stuff. I'm pro-stuff. I don't want us to chuckle our stuff and feel bad about our stuff. I want us to value our stuff more. I want us to have reverence and appreciation for our stuff. Look at our jewelry or our sunglasses or our refrigerator or whatever stuff we have, and think about someone mined that metal, someone felled that forest, someone loaded that onto a truck, which loaded it to a ship, which drove it to some other country. Someone worked in a factory making this stuff for us. Someone cut it, someone trimmed it, someone pounded it, someone packaged it. All along the way, the planet and people made contributions to make this stuff. So let's just pause for a moment, have a bit of reverence and appreciation for that stuff. That's why I am a big advocate of getting your shoes resoled, bringing your bike in from the rain, care for and appreciate this stuff for the true value it has, which is usually far beyond what the price tag says.
So before you buy something new, think of this.
With extraction, what it means is that we pull the stuff out of the earth that we want. Could be metals, could be oil, could be coal, could be plants, could be something from the ocean, could be crops that we grow. Very often water. We use enormous amounts of water, which is often invisible. You know, when you look at a laptop computer or a gold wedding ring or something, you're not thinking necessarily about all the water that went into that. So we pull all those resources out of the earth, we put them on ships or trains or trucks or someplace, get them to a factory, often on a different continent. You know, many of our products have been like literally all over the world before they get to us. They move to another place where they're put into products. What happens there is huge amounts of energy, usually oil and coal, huge amounts of water again, and then often synthetic chemicals. Now, synthetic chemicals are not inherently good or bad. It just means it's something that didn't exist in nature, and so they're made by creating new things. Many of them aren't problematic. One of the big problems, though, is that since they're new, we don't know. And there's 100,000 synthetic chemicals in commerce today, and only a handful of them have had any testing at all. None have had full testing for their synergistic impact, when they interact with each other. So you take your resources, you mix in a bunch of water, a bunch of energy, a bunch of synthetic chemicals, and what you get out is some product. And unfortunately, they are too often overpackaged, toxic containing, poorly made, because they weren't made with the right start. The first step in making a product is the design of the product, is thinking about what is the intent of this product, and that's where the greatest potential for change is. Is the intent of the product to make a cheap, disposable, non-repairable, not upgradable piece of junk that someone's going to use quickly and chuck so that you just have an ever-ending flow of these gadgets and gizmos? Or is the intent to make a high-quality, durable, safe, repairable product that can really add to the well-being of society? So what I say is keep making this stuff. I'm not anti-business, but make it safe, make it clean, make it fair, and make it last.